The plane's wheels screeched against the tarmac, and I exhaled, thinking of home. Lila's smile, our cozy living room, the life we'd built. But when my taxi pulled into our driveway, my heart stopped. Black trash bags, stuffed with my clothes, books, and life, were piled like garbage on the curb. My mother, all 5 feet of her, stood like a sentinel at the gate, her face a mask of fury I hadn't seen since I was a kid. "Mom," I called, stepping out, my suitcase thudding to the ground. "What the hell is going on?" She didn't move, her arms crossed, her silver hair glinting in the afternoon sun. "You're not coming in, Ethan," she said, her voice low but sharp as a blade. "Not until you hear the truth." I froze, my mind racing. The business trip had been grueling. 3 weeks in Chicago, pitching to investors, barely sleeping. I'd called Lila every night, her voice soft, reassuring, promising she'd be waiting. But now, the house looked wrong. The curtains were drawn, the porch light off, and those bags, they weren't random. They were mine. My shirt spilling out, my old college books torn at the edges. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. "Truth," I managed, my throat dry. "Mom, move. Let me talk to Lila." Her eyes softened for a split second, but her stance didn't budge. "She's not your wife anymore, Ethan. Not after what she did." I laughed, a hollow sound. "What are you talking about? I was gone 3 weeks, not 3 years." Mom stepped forward, her gaze locking onto mine. 3 weeks was enough for her to ruin everything. She pointed to the house. "She's in there, Ethan. With him." "Him?" My voice cracked. I pushed past her, or tried to, but she grabbed my arm with a strength that belied her age. "Ethan, listen to me. Lila's been lying to you. She's been lying to everyone." I shook her off, my pulse hammering. The gate creaked as I shoved it open, ignoring her protests. The driveway felt endless, each step heavier than the last. I reached the front door, my key trembling in my hand. It didn't fit. The lock had been changed. "Lila." I pounded on the door, my voice echoing in the quiet neighborhood. "Open the damn door." The door swung open, and there she was, Lila, my wife of 7 years. Her dark hair pulled back, her eyes wide but not surprised. She looked guilty. And behind her, in my living room, stood a man I didn't know. Tall, broad-shouldered, his tie loosened like he owned the place. "Ethan," Lila started, her voice shaky. "I didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" I snapped, stepping inside. The air smelled wrong, like someone else's cologne. "Who is he?" The man cleared his throat, stepping forward. "I'm Greg," he said, extending a hand I didn't take. "I work with Lila." "Work?" I spat, looking at Lila. "You're telling me this is about work?" Her silence was louder than any confession. My eyes darted around the room, our room, our life. The couch where we'd watched movies, the coffee table where we'd argued over bills. Now it felt like a stage for someone else's story. "Ethan," Lila whispered, tears brimming. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen." I turned to Greg, my fists clenched. "Get out of my house." He didn't move, just glanced at Lila like they shared a secret. My stomach churned. Mom's voice echoed from the doorway. "I told you. Ethan. She's been sneaking around with him for weeks." "Weeks?" I spun back to Lila. "While I was killing myself to provide for us. You were what bringing him here?" "It's not like that," Lila said, her voice breaking. "It just happened." I laughed again, bitter and raw. "It just happened. You just happened to change the locks. To throw my life in the trash." Mom stepped inside now, her presence a quiet storm. "I found out 2 days ago," she said. "A neighbor saw them. I came over to confront her, and she admitted it. She didn't even try to hide it. I looked at Lila, waiting for her to deny it, to fight, to say something that would make this nightmare make sense. But she just stood there, tears streaming down her face, her hands twisting together. "Ethan," she whispered, "I still love you." The words hit like a punch. Love. This wasn't love. This was betrayal, sharp and cold, cutting through 7 years of promises. I turned to Greg, who still hadn't moved. "You," I said, my voice low. "You think you can just walk in here and take my life?" "I'm not taking anything," he said, calm, too calm. Lila made her choice. I lunged, but Mom grabbed me, her hands surprisingly strong. "Not like this, Ethan," she hissed. "You're better than this." I pulled away, my chest heaving. The room felt too small, the air too thick. I looked at the trash bags outside, my life reduced to garbage. I looked at Lila, the woman I'd vowed to love forever. And I looked at Mom, who'd flown across the country to stand guard at my gate, to protect me from this truth. "I need air," I said, stumbling outside. The driveway was warm under my feet, the sun mocking me with its brightness. Mom followed, her steps steady. "We'll fix this, Ethan," she said softly. "But you need to know everything first." "Everything?" I asked, my voice hollow. "What else is there?" She hesitated, then met my eyes. "Greg's not just some guy. He's married. And his wife, she knows." The world tilted again. I leaned against the gate, the metal cold against my palms. Lila's betrayal wasn't just mine to bear. Another family, another life, was crumbling somewhere else. And Mom, my fierce, unshakable mother, had already started planning what came next. Mom's words hung in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. Greg was married. His wife knew. My mind spun, trying to piece together a puzzle I didn't want to solve. I sat on the curb, the trash bags beside me, their contents spilling out like my life unraveling. "His wife," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Who is she? How does she know?" Mom sat beside me, her hands folded in her lap. "Her name's Claire," she said. "She called me yesterday. Ethan." She found texts on Greg's phone. Pictures. Messages from Lila. I closed my eyes, the image of Lila and Greg together burning behind my lids. "Pictures," I repeated, the word bitter on my tongue. "How did Claire even find you?" Mom sighed, her shoulders sagging. "She didn't. At first. She confronted Lila at their office. Things got heated, and Lila let slip that I was in town. Claire tracked me down through a mutual friend. She's not okay, Ethan. She's hurting, just like you." I stared at the house, the place where I'd planned a future with Lila. What does she want? Claire. I mean. Mom's eyes hardened. "She wants justice. Same as me. Same as you should." "Justice?" I laughed. A jagged sound. "What does that even mean? My wife's been sleeping with her husband. My stuff's in the trash. What's justice supposed to look like?" Mom leaned closer, her voice steady. "It looks like making sure they don't get to walk away clean." Claire and I talked. "We've got a plan." "A plan?" I turned to her, my stomach twisting. "Mom, what are you talking about?" She stood, brushing dirt from her jeans. "Get up, Ethan. We're not doing this here." I followed her to her rental car, my legs heavy, my mind a fog. We drove in silence, the suburban streets blurring past. She pulled into a small coffee shop, its windows warm with late afternoon light. Inside, a woman sat alone at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a mug. She was maybe early 30s, blonde hair pulled back, her face pale but her eyes sharp with determination. "Claire," Mom said, nodding as we approached. Claire looked up, her gaze locking onto mine. "You must be Ethan," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. I'm so sorry. I sat, feeling like I was in someone else's life. Yeah, I said. Me too. Claire's story spilled out, each word a fresh wound. She'd found Greg's phone unlocked a week ago, late at night. Texts from Lila, flirty at first, then explicit. Photos of them together at a bar, in a hotel, in my house. Claire had confronted Greg, who admitted the affair but swore it was just a fling. She'd kicked him out, but he'd gone straight to Lila. I thought I knew him, Claire said, her voice breaking. 15 years of marriage. 2 kids. And he does this. I nodded, the weight of her pain mirroring mine. 7 years for me. I said. No kids. But I thought I knew her too. Mom leaned forward, her voice low. They think they can just start over. Like we're disposable. Like our lives don't matter. But they're wrong. Claire's eyes met mine, a spark of resolve igniting. I've got evidence, she said. Screenshots, emails, even a hotel receipt. I was going to use it to divorce Greg. But your mom, she thinks we can do more. More? I asked, my heart pounding. Like what? Mom's smile was small but fierce. We exposed them. Not just to each other, but to everyone. Their friends, their co-workers, their families. We make sure they can't hide. I stared at her, my mind reeling. This wasn't the mom who baked cookies or called to check on me during storms. This was a woman on a mission. Her love for me sharpened into something dangerous. Expose them, I repeated, testing the words. Part of me wanted to scream, to tear down everything Lila and Greg had built on our pain. But another part, quieter, ached for the life I'd lost. What if we just let them go? Move on. Claire's laugh was bitter. Move on. Ethan, they're living in your house. Greg's already talking about moving in with her. They're not sorry. They're planning. Her words hit like a slap. I saw Lila's face. Her tears. Her weak, I love you. Had it all been a lie? Had she been planning this while I was on the road? Pouring my heart into our future. Okay, I said, my voice steady for the first time. What's the plan? Mom and Claire exchanged a look. A silent agreement forged in their shared betrayal. We start with their workplace, Claire said. They work at the same marketing firm. Their colleagues don't know yet, but they will. We've got a meeting tomorrow, Mom added, with their HR department. Claire's got the evidence, and I've got a lawyer friend who's ready to back us up. I swallowed hard, the weight of it settling in. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming our dignity, our lives. But as I looked at Claire, her hands trembling around her mug, and Mom, her jaw set like steel, I felt a flicker of doubt. What would this do to us? To me. Let's do it, I said, my voice firm despite the storm inside. But we do it smart. No mistakes. Claire nodded, a faint smile breaking through her pain. No mistakes, she echoed. As we left the coffee shop, the sun dipping low, I felt the first stirrings of something new, not healing. Not yet, but purpose. Lila and Greg had taken so much, but they wouldn't take everything. Not if we fought back. The next morning, I woke in a hotel room. The sterile quiet a stark contrast to the chaos of yesterday. My phone buzzed with a single text from Lila. Can we talk? I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the reply button. But Mom's voice echoed in my head. She's not your wife anymore. I deleted the message. Claire picked us up at 8. Her minivan cluttered with kids' toys and empty coffee cups. She drove with a focus that matched her eyes sharp, unyielding. HR's expecting us at 9, she said, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. You ready for this, Ethan? I nodded, though my stomach churned. Yeah, let's get it over with. The marketing firm's office was a glass and steel monolith downtown, all sleek lines and corporate polish. Inside, the receptionist's smile faltered when Claire gave her name. We were ushered into a conference room, where a woman in a crisp blazer waited HR. I assumed. Mom's lawyer friend, a wiry man named Paul, sat beside us, his briefcase open, papers neatly stacked. "Thank you for coming," the HR woman, Diane, said, her tone professional but wary. "I understand this is a sensitive matter." Claire didn't waste time. She slid a folder across the table, thick with printed screenshots, emails, and receipts. "This is evidence of an inappropriate relationship between two of your employees, Lila Carter and Greg Harlan, conducted during work hours, using company resources." Diane's eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. "This is extensive," she said, her voice tight. "Can you confirm the authenticity of these documents?" Paul leaned forward. "Every piece has been verified. We have timestamps, metadata, and corroborating witness statements. This isn't just a personal matter, it's a violation of your company's code of conduct." I sat silent, my hands clenched under the table. Each page Diane turned felt like another piece of my heart being ripped out. Photos of Lila and Greg at a bar, laughing. Emails sent from her work account, flirty and reckless. A hotel receipt, paid with Greg's corporate card. "And you're Ethan Carter?" Diane asked, looking at me. I nodded, my throat tight. "Lila's my wife. Was my wife." Her expression softened, but only slightly. "And Mrs. Harlan?" Claire's voice was steady. "I'm Greg's wife. We have 2 children. This affair has destroyed our families." Diane closed the folder, her face unreadable. "We take these allegations seriously. I'll need to escalate this to our legal team and conduct an internal investigation." "There's more," Mom said, her voice cutting through the room. "They've been using Ethan's home, our family's home, for their affair. Lila changed the locks, threw out his belongings. This isn't just unprofessional. It's cruel." Diane's pen paused over her notepad. "I see. We'll address this swiftly. Can you leave the evidence with us?" Paul nodded. "We've made copies. You'll have everything you need." As we left, the weight of what we'd done settled over me. This wasn't just a me tinge, it was the first shot in a war I hadn't wanted to fight. But Lila and Greg had left me no choice. Outside, Claire turned to me, her eyes searching. "You okay?" I shrugged, the anger and hurt tangled inside me. I don't know what okay looks like anymore. Mom put a hand on my shoulder. "You're standing up for yourself, Ethan. That's enough for now." We drove to Claire's house next, a modest split level with toys scattered in the yard. Her kids, a boy and a girl, were at school, but their presence lingered in the crayon drawings taped to the fridge. Over coffee, Claire showed me more social media posts, mutual friends who'd suspected but said nothing. The betrayal wasn't just Lila and Greg. It was the silence of those who'd known. "We need to go public," Claire said, her voice firm. "Not just HR. Their friends, their families, they need to know who they really are." I hesitated. "Public? Like what? Blast them online?" "Not blasting," Mom said. "Telling the truth. We're not the ones who should be ashamed." Claire pulled out her phone, scrolling through a group chat with their coworkers. "I've already drafted something. It's simple, factual. No lies, just the evidence." I read the message. "To everyone who knows Lila Carter and Greg Harlan, we've uncovered evidence of their affair, conducted during work hours, in Ethan's home. Here are the facts." It linked to a private folder with the screenshots, carefully redacted to protect Claire's kids. My hands shook as I handed the phone back. "This'll ruin them." Claire's eyes met mine, steady but tired. "They ruined us first." I nodded, the decision settling like a stone in my chest. "Send it." She hit send, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Within minutes, Notifications pinged shock, anger, support. Friends who'd stayed silent now apologized. Co-workers demanded explanations. The truth was out, and it was spreading. But as we sat there, the weight of it all pressed down. This wasn't victory. It was survival. And I wasn't sure what came next. The fallout was immediate. By evening, my phone buzzed with messages from friends, colleagues, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Some offered sympathy, others outrage, a few just awkward condolences. Lila called twice, left voicemails I couldn't bring myself to hear. Greg's number, unknown to me until now, flashed once before I blocked it. Claire's group chat exploded. Co-workers splitting into camps, those who condemned Lila and Greg, and those who stayed silent, likely out of guilt or complicity. The firm's HR department emailed, confirming suspensions pending investigation. It felt like progress, but it didn't fill the hole in my chest. I stayed at Mom's hotel that night, unable to face the house. Sleep didn't come. Instead, I replayed every moment with Lila, searching for signs I'd missed. Her late nights at the office, her sudden interest in new projects, her quiet phone calls she'd brushed off as work. How had I been so blind? Morning brought a new plan. Claire called, her voice tight. They're trying to spin this. Ethan. Greg's telling people it was a one-time mistake. Lila's claiming she was unhappy and you were never around. Never around. I snapped, pacing the hotel room. I was working for us. I know, Claire said, but they're playing the victim. We need to hit harder. Mom, sipping coffee at the desk, nodded. We go to their families next. Lila's parents. Greg's mom. They deserve to know. I hesitated. Lila's parents, Tom and Diane, had always treated me like a son. Breaking their hearts felt like another betrayal. But Mom was right, they'd want the truth. And Greg's mother, a widow in her 70s, deserved to know what her son had done. We drove to Lila's parents' house first, a tidy ranch-style home an hour away. Diane opened the door, her smile fading when she saw my face. Ethan, what's wrong? Tom joined her, his eyes narrowing at Mom and Claire behind me. What's this about? I took a deep breath. The words heavy. Lila's been having an affair. With a married man. We thought you should know. Diane's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling instantly. Tom's face hardened, his voice low. You're sure? Claire stepped forward, handing them a slim, folder redacted evidence. Enough to prove the truth without overwhelming them. I'm Claire, Greg's wife. He's the man she's with. Tom flipped through the pages, his hands shaking. Diane sank onto the couch, sobbing. How could she do this? She whispered. To you, Ethan. To us. I wanted to comfort her, but my own pain held me back. I'm sorry, I said, my voice cracking. I didn't want to believe it either. Tom looked at me, his eyes wet. You're still family, Ethan. This doesn't change that. Their words were a small anchor in the storm, but the visit left me hollow. We drove to Greg's mother's next, a small apartment in a quiet complex. She was frail, her hands trembling as she invited us in. Claire took the lead, her voice gentle but firm, laying out the truth. Greg's mother listened silently, her face crumpling as Claire showed her the evidence. He's my only son, she said finally, her voice barely audible. I thought I raised him better. You did, Claire said, her own voice breaking. This isn't your fault. As we left, I felt the weight of their pain piling onto mine. This wasn't just about me and Claire Anna Maria, it was about the families we'd both lost. The trust shattered across generations. Back at the hotel, Mom poured me a glass of water, her eyes searching mine. You're doing the right thing, Ethan. It's hard, but it's right. Is it? I asked, staring at the glass. All we're doing is spreading pain. No, she said firmly. We're spreading truth. Pain is what they chose when they lied to you. Claire called later, her voice urgent. They're moving out of your house. Ethan. A neighbor saw them packing. My heart lurched. Packing? To go where? I don't know, she said. But we need to get there. Now. We drove to the house. My house. The one I'd poured my savings into. The trash bags were gone. The driveway empty. The front door was ajar. And inside, the house felt like a ghost town. Furniture was shifted. Lila's clothes missing from the closet. A note sat on the kitchen counter. Her handwriting shaky. Ethan. I'm sorry. I'll be at my sister's. We need to talk. I crumpled the note. Anger flaring. Talk. Now she wants to talk. Mom's hand rested on my shoulder. Let her run. She can't hide forever. Claire stood in the living room, her eyes scanning the space. They're not getting away with this, she said. We're not done. I nodded, the fire in her voice igniting something in me. This wasn't over. Not yet. The house felt like a stranger's now, stripped of warmth, echoing with absence. I stood in the living room, staring at the empty spots where Lila's things had been. The couch was still there, but the throw blanket we'd bought together was gone. The kitchen smelled faintly of her perfume, a ghost of the life we'd shared. Claire paced, her phone in hand. They're at her sister's, she said, reading a text from a neighbor. But they're not staying long. A friend saw them looking at apartments downtown. Apartments, I said, my voice flat. They're planning a life together. Mom snorted, leaning against the counter. Let them try. They're radioactive now. No one's going to rent to them once word spreads. She was right. The group chat had grown. Friends and co-workers sharing the story. Their outrage fueling ours. Lila and Greg's names were mud at the firm. Their suspensions likely to become terminations. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. We need to take back the house, I said, the idea crystallizing. Legally. It's in my name. Paul, the lawyer, had stayed in touch, and I called him that afternoon. He confirmed what I'd hoped. The house was mine, bought before the marriage, untouched by Lila's name on the deed. Changing the locks without my consent was illegal, and I could reclaim it immediately. Then let's do it, I said, my voice steady. I want them out. For good. Paul arranged for a locksmith and a sheriff's deputy to meet us at the house the next morning. Claire insisted on coming, her resolve unshaken. Mom, ever the general, coordinated with Paul, ensuring every legal detail was airtight. The deputy, a gruff man named Carter, arrived at dawn, his badge glinting in the early light. The locksmith followed, tools clinking in his bag. I stood at the gate, the same gate Mom had blocked 2 days ago, my heart pounding but my mind clear. Let's go, I said, leading the way. The house was quiet when we entered, but signs of Lila and Greg lingered, a coffee mug in the sink, a jacket slung over a chair. The deputy knocked loudly, announcing our presence. No answer. They were gone, likely at Lila's sister's, as Claire's neighbor had said. The locksmith worked quickly, the new keys cold in my hand when he handed them over. Carter served a notice of trespass, ensuring Lila and Greg couldn't return without legal consequences. It felt final, but hollow. This was my home, but it didn't feel like home anymore. Claire touched my arm, her eyes soft. You did it, Ethan. You took it back. I nodded, but the victory was bittersweet. Now what? They're still out there, playing house. Mom's smile was sharp. Now we keep going. Their families know. Their coworkers know. Next, we make sure their world knows. Claire pulled out her laptop, showing me a website she'd built overnight, a simple page, anonymous but public, detailing the affair with redacted evidence. No names, but anyone who knew Lila or Greg would connect the dots. I'm posting it tonight, she said. It'll be shared everywhere. I hesitated, the weight of it pressing down. This could destroy them. Claire. Completely. Her eyes met mine, unflinching. They destroyed us. Ethan. This is just the truth catching up. I nodded, giving her the go-ahead. The site went live that evening, shared across social media, forums, even local community boards. By morning, it had thousands of views, comments pouring in, some cruel, some sympathetic, all amplifying the truth. Lila's sister called me that afternoon, her voice shaking. Ethan, why are you doing this? She's a wreck. She threw my life in the trash. I said, my voice steady. She doesn't get to play the victim. She knows she messed up. Her sister said. She wants to make it right. Too late, I said, hanging up. The words felt final, but they didn't ease the ache in my chest. That night, I slept in my house for the first time since returning. The bed felt too big, the silence too loud. Mom stayed in the guest room, her presence a quiet comfort. Claire texted, checking in, her strength a reminder that I wasn't alone. But as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I wondered what right even meant anymore. Lila was gone. Greg was gone. But the life I'd known was gone too. All I had left was this fight. This need to make them feel what they'd done. And then, a knock at the door. Late. Too late for visitors. I opened it. And there stood Lila. Her face pale. Her eyes red from crying. Ethan. She whispered. Please. I need to explain. I stood frozen. The door half open. Lila's silhouette framed by the porch light. Her hair was a mess. Her jacket wrinkled, as if she'd been running from something. For a moment, I saw the woman I'd loved, the one who'd laughed with me over late-night pizza, who'd planned our future with such certainty. But that woman was gone, replaced by this stranger who'd torn it all apart. Explain, I said, my voice low, sharp. You threw my life in the trash. Lila, what's left to explain? She flinched, tears spilling down her cheeks. I know I hurt you. I know I messed up. But please, just hear me out. Mom appeared behind me, her voice cold. You've got some nerve showing up here. Lila's eyes darted to her, then back to me. Ethan, I'm begging you. 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside, letting her in. The living room felt smaller with her in it, the air heavy with unspoken words. She sat on the edge of the couch, her hands twisting together, while I stood, arms crossed, the new keys heavy in my pocket. Talk, I said. She took a shaky breath. It wasn't planned. Ethan, Greg and I, it started as a friendship. Work was stressful. You were gone, and he was there. It was a mistake, but it snowballed. I didn't know how to stop it. You didn't know how to stop it. I laughed, the sound bitter. You changed the locks. Lila, you let him into our home. I know, she whispered, her voice breaking. I was scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of facing what I'd done. I thought I could fix it before you came back. Fix it? I snapped. You were planning a life with him. You threw my stuff out like garbage. She shook her head, tears falling faster. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was going to tell you. I swear. But then your mom showed up, and everything fell apart. Mom stepped forward, her voice like steel. Don't you dare blame me. You made your choices. Lila. Lila's eyes pleaded with me. Ethan, I still love you. I know I don't deserve you, but I want to make this right. I'll do anything. Her words hit like a wave, stirring up the love I'd buried under anger. But then I saw the trash bags, the screenshots, Claire's trembling hands. You don't get to say you love me, I said, my voice steady. Not after this. She sobbed, her hands covering her face. I'm so sorry. Ethan, I'm so sorry. Get out, I said, the words final. Don't come back. She stood, her steps shaky, and left without another word. The door clicked shut, and the silence was deafening. Mom touched my shoulder, her voice soft. You did the right thing. Did I? I asked, sinking onto the couch. I don't even know what's right anymore. Morning brought news from Claire. The website had gone viral locally, shared by coworkers, friends, even strangers. Lila and Greg's names were trending on local forums, their reputations in tatters. The firm had fired them both, citing misuse of company resources and breach of ethics. Claire met me at a diner, her face weary but resolute. They're done, Ethan, she said. No one will touch them professionally now. I nodded, stirring my coffee. What about us? What do we do now? She sighed, her eyes distant. I'm filing for divorce. I've got my kids to think about. You. I didn't have an answer. Divorce felt inevitable, but the word stuck in my throat. I need time, I said finally. Mom joined us, her presence grounding. You'll rebuild. Ethan, you're stronger than you think. That afternoon, we went to the house to sort through what was left. I found photos of our wedding, vacations, moments I'd thought were forever. Each one hurt, but I kept them, tucking them into a box. Claire helped, her quiet strength a mirror to my own resolve. As we worked, a neighbor stopped by, offering condolences and a casserole. We had no idea. She said, "We're here for you, Ethan." Her kindness was a small light in the dark, a reminder that not everyone had betrayed me. But as the day wore on, I felt the weight of what came next, rebuilding a life I hadn't planned for. Alone. That night, Claire called with an update. Greg's trying to contact me, she said. He's begging for forgiveness. Says he's leaving Lila. I laughed. A hollow sound. Let him beg. He's got nothing left. But as I hung up, I wondered if I did. The house was mine. The truth was out. But the emptiness remained. I looked at Mom, who was reading in the guest room, her presence a quiet anchor. What now? I asked. She closed her book, her eyes warm. Now, you live. You find joy again. And I'll be here. Every step. Weeks passed, and the world kept turning, though it felt like mine had stopped. The house was mine again, legally and physically, but it was a shell. I painted the walls, rearranged furniture, trying to erase Lila's ghost. But her absence lingered in every corner. Mom stayed another week, her quiet strength holding me together, before flying home, promising to return if I needed her. Claire and I kept in touch, our shared pain forging a bond neither of us had expected. She moved forward with her divorce, her focus on her kids giving her purpose. I envied her clarity. My own divorce papers sat unsigned on the kitchen table, a decision I couldn't yet face. Lila reached out once more, a letter this time, delivered to the house. Her words were careful, remorseful, begging for a chance to rebuild. I know I destroyed us, she wrote, but I'll spend my life making it right, if you'll let me. I read it twice, then burned it in the backyard, the flames consuming her promises as easily as she'd consumed my trust. Greg's life unraveled faster. Claire shared updates his attempts to find work failed, his reputation too damaged. He'd left Lila, or she'd left him. The details were murky, but their affair had collapsed under the weight of their exposure. Part of me felt a grim satisfaction, but it was fleeting. Their destruction didn't rebuild my life. I returned to work, the routine a lifeline. Colleagues tiptoed around me, their pity a quiet sting. But my boss, a gruff man who valued results over gossip, gave me a new project, a chance to lose myself in numbers and deadlines. It wasn't healing, but it was a start. One evening, Claire invited me to her kids' school play, a small gesture of normalcy. I sat in the auditorium, watching her son, a shy 8-year-old, stumble through his lines as a tree. Claire laughed beside me, her eyes bright for the first time since we'd met. "They're why I keep going," she said, nodding at her kids. "You'll find your reason, Ethan." Her words stayed with me. That night, I walked through the house, box in hand, packing away the last of Lila's traces, her books, a scarf, a half-empty bottle of her perfume. I donated most of it, keeping only a photo from our first anniversary, a reminder not of love lost, but of my own resilience. Months later, I got a call from Tom, Lila's father. He sounded tired, his voice heavy with regret. "She's in therapy," he said. "She's trying to change. I know it doesn't fix things, but I thought you should know." "Thanks," I said, meaning it. I didn't hate Lila. Not anymore. Hate was too heavy to carry. I wished her well, silently, but I'd never let her back in. Claire and I met for coffee one last time before she moved to a new city. Her kids in tow. A fresh start for them all. "You're stronger than you know," she said, echoing Mom's words. "You'll be okay, Ethan." I nodded, believing it for the first time. "You too, Claire." As she drove away, I felt the first stirrings of peace. The house was mine, not just in deed but in spirit. I planted a garden in the backyard, the physical labor grounding me. I reconnected with old friends, their loyalty a balm to my wounds. And I started writing. A journal at first, then stories, pouring my pain and hope onto the page. 1 year after that terrible day, I stood at the gate, the same gate Mom had blocked, and looked at the house. It was different now, brighter. Lived in. Mine. The trash bags were a memory, the betrayal a scar that had begun to fade. I wasn't whole. Not yet. But I was healing. I thought of Mom, of Claire, of the families we'd fought for. We hadn't just exposed Lila and Greg. We'd reclaimed our dignity, our right to move forward. And as I walked back inside, the evening sun warm on my shoulders, I knew I'd find joy again, not because the pain was gone, but because I was stronger than it.